Oh, look what happened. Look what happened. Starting Five podcast and put your boy in the game. They done put your boy in the game. I'm part of the Starting Five podcast now. They done took me off the bench. They done took me off the bench. I'm a starter now. I'm getting in there. I want to thank my mama for raising me. I want to thank my coach for having faith in me. I want to thank the Starting Five crew for believing in me and finally giving me my chance. And I promise you, I promise all the fans, I promise everybody, go to YouTube and listen. Go to YouTube and support. Go to YouTube and like and subscribe and comment. Go over there right now and follow the Starting Five podcast because I'm going to be in there. And I promise you, fans, I'm going to average a triple-double out that motherfucker. That's right. I'm going to average a triple-double. Don't look at me like that. In my world, double don't mean 10. When I go and I order a double cheeseburger, it ain't 10 fucking burgers on there. It's 2. All right? It's 2 burgers on there. When them girls be out there playing double Dutch, they ain't got 10 hands. They turning them roast with 2 motherfucking hands. So when I say I'm going to average a triple-double, that's right. I'm going to average a triple-double. I'm going to give you 2, 2, and 2. Maybe 4, 2, and 2. I just know I'm going to give you a triple-double meaning 2 for me. But anyway, go on YouTube right now and go ahead and subscribe and follow the Starting Five podcast. Now,
The Star.
Yeah, y'all already know. 7 the pan. That dude Fizz on the beat. Yeah. We live in entertainment. Sound change. Crown the kings, homie. This is where it get ill. About to have the tip off live as a chip drill. From the court to the diamond, to the track, to the big skin flying round the field. Starting Five forever, keeping it real. If it matters in the world of sports, blue jeans and long sleeves, they taking no shorts. Hot the depot, yes, these are the sports podcasts live as a pro's corpse. Biz market wave, the Starting Five goes off. No matter who you cheer for, emotions out the window, they analyzing with clear thoughts. They take it way deeper than the boys ever. No longer got any use for the 4 letters. The latest news, score stats and the view from the sideline. Ain't no guideline, it's just the truth. Yeah, no need to dig for a pardon line. It's always in season and people Starting Five. We going in on 3, run the baseline, Starting Five, get it. We got what you need. If it's sports news you see, we don't waste time. We talking cause we live it. We got what you need. We going in on 3, run the baseline, Starting Five, get it. We got what you need. And y'all know me, 7 sign, I'm the illest cat stick. I got what you need.
This week more than ever, I don't know if we got what y'all need, but we got what the motherfuck y'all gonna hear from us today. Fuck this government. Fuck your Independence Day. This is the newest episode of Star 5. As always, y'all know who I am. No long talking. I'm gonna save this brother for last, even though he went first already. Jamal, what up?
What's going on, y'all? What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week in the Starting Five. You know, we got a July 4th holiday weekend, but one of our branches of government is doing their own thing. And we're going to talk about it today, you know. So, what's up, Marco? What's up, Lisper?
Yes, sir. What's good? What's going on, Starting Five listeners, watchers? Microdosing today. You know, on the same time around.
Yeah, boy.
Tried the first time, and man, it was too much to handle. So I'm microdosing this morning. You know what I'm saying? I took a little piece. I took a piece of a piece. I'm gonna try and cope today, man. I'm already sweating. I mean, I had to have AC on, but
AC.
Yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough right now, man. But there's a lot to talk about today. Taking a different route today, man. I'm gonna let Lisper go, but yeah, man, it's a lot to talk about. Lots of undress, unravel today, man.
All right, we gotta microdose your rambles too. So let's get a hold on the shrooms. You know, let's find one of these Coopers to bring you down a level like Mario. But As y'all
I got the
saw,
handy to bring you down, man. I got the handy to bring you
oh,
down,
there you
man.
go, there you go. Upper and downers.
There you go.
But as shown in the beginning of the video, I had to kind of sneak attack y'all with that one from the homie the Lisper. After a quick conversation with him last week, he was on last week's episode, and I kind of wanted to ask y'all live on air, but everybody wasn't on the show last week. So that's why I waited. I hit the group chat and I was like, yo, because this is before I even talked to you about it, Tyrone, and you was just like, like you expressed to me like, yo, I want to come back every week, but I don't want to feel like I'm stepping on everybody's toes. But that was after after I asked you, and now you're the newest member. You're finally rounding out the 5. Even though TJ couldn't make it this week, the starting 5 is finally now whole. We found the yellow lion and finished off the leg out of the city of Philadelphia. Y'all know one of my favorite cities. Jamal was just there repping for us. Philly Cigar Week. Tyrone, welcome to the team. I know that was a little sloppy intro, but I'm mentally microdosing off of just tiredness.
Like I said, I've always expressed, gratitude and happiness for being here, and so now to be part of the team it just ups the ante for me even more. And like I said, I'm gonna bring my A game in here and get them triple doubles popping, and we're gonna do the thing. But I really do appreciate it. That's the main thing I want to let you brothers know, that I appreciate y'all allowing me to be a part of this.
Word. I mean,
Sure.
as I said to you over the phone, I said your opinions from day one. Once I invited you on back when we first did, what did we do? The cartoon tournament, right, or something like that. And that was because I recognized and seen what you was doing via your TikToks, and I was like, oh, this dude. I like you joked on your recent video, like people thought you was homeless, this, that, and the third. I'm like, nah, this dude don't look homeless, but I could tell he's one of us. Like he's that mixture of nerd, cartoons, wrestling. Like you're literally one of us, just in Philly, because we all kind of encompass all that shit. I'm still playing video games to this day, so still reminiscing or going back and watching cartoons from our era, or still doing what you just recently did, which break down to why you think the Mega Powers is the best story in wrestling history. You know what I'm saying? Like you are us. you are one of us, and without doing that, one of us. What, like you just fit with us, and it was kind of felt like a no-brainer, because every time I ask, yo, you want to be on, you're right there. Anybody else got anything to say to the good brother about being?
No, man. Welcome aboard, bro. Every time you've been on the show, it's been fun. It's been wild. Even though you went hard for Voltron, that shit hurt my heart.
So wait, against Voltron?
Yeah, you went hard against Voltron.
Damn, bro, you gotta bring that shit up, boy.
I know, man. I know I'm bringing up old shit, but that's all good. No, bro. Seriously, welcome aboard, man. We happy to have you, man. Every time you're on the show, the show is incredible. So looking forward to you lending your talents to everything too, bro.
And I just want to say something, because I go into TikTok, and TikTok is bullshit. For real. We all know TikTok is bullshit. I go in there to fuck around. I talk some bullshit. I do my little thing. But rarely do I ever get humbled. Okay, I'm not a humble person for real. I want to win when I talk my shit. But you guys have kind of like, I done ate some crow sandwiches on here. It's cool, you know what I mean? This the only place I can eat the crow sandwich, you understand?
Well, now you are part of the tribe, and now it's time to dish out the crow sandwiches to others. I mean, even though we got to do it amongst ourselves each and every week, because I like to throw it back at Big O when Big O be like, "See, my team, I told you." Even though he forgets that now, besides the fact that we added a Lakers fan to the crew, we are all Knicks fans. So all season it was my team. I said it like, nigga, we all said it. But it's all right. Oh,
no, man, yo, it's I welcome another voice. You know what I'm saying? Always, even though sometimes you go against the grain. with the whole Voltron thing. I don't really remember. What his pick was for the '90s album. So I'm gonna leave him alone in that one. But yeah, nah, man, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. You know what I'm saying? Finally having a full starting five. You know what I mean? So I can't wait, man.
And it's been like, again, since we started this, it's been this way from day one. Like even with the intro video, like I gotta fix that because half of those names have no longer been here. And the brother who I started this whole journey with, like he knows I haven't spoken to him in a minute. I haven't picked up the phone, well, because I don't know when I could call him because it's either he's busy or he's working. But he should know my standards from the jump is if you want to be here, you're gonna show up and be a part of it. And half the show, and he's the person who started this whole started five journey with me, but he hasn't been around in a minute because, like I said, I've told it and I said it to everybody. I don't chase no more. I don't chase no more. If you want to be a part of this, you're going to show that you're going to want to be a part of this. We're all adults. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no shots at my brother JP. Still love to this day, no matter what. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the OG triple OG, not of podcasting, just of life. But but yeah, get ready for some of these old jokes. Even though you're the second youngest on the show. Did you know that, Tyro? You're the second youngest on the show, I think.
Oh man, I need proof, man.
I don't look it.
What do you say? You're 44, 45? 44,
bro, you
right.
just asked for receipts? I'm not
going to just ask for receipts. On my birth certificate.
Nah.
You was a dude that was letting niggas in the movie theaters, man.
You have 5 daughters and see how your facial hair gonna look.
Facts. I got 3, but I ain't there yet. I ain't that far.
You got that shit.
Nah, I got the ashiness though. No, yeah, you're the second youngest now because TJ's the new old head, the oldest of old heads, and then O and J and Jamal are like right there in the upper crust of the 40s, but not at the top of it. While TJ just broke 50.
I'm the midpoint, bro.
I'm 40. I'm 43. So we all right there. We all right there. Mm-hmm. But anyway, who ain't there no more? Let's just get through this before it's Jamal's show this week. ESPN, everybody's favorite that they love to hate. The full list of layoffs. Now, one name that's not on this list wasn't a layoff. It was just a non-contract renewal, which shocked the fuck out of me, was Neil Everett.
Yeah.
That one, when I read that after reading this list, but Neil Everett was a shocker to not bring back. But let's just go through the names and let's just see how we feel. And I'm going to start from the bottom. Nick Friedel, who actually was a decent basketball reporter. David Pollock, I don't remember Dave Pollock. Jordan Cornette, I don't know who that is. June Lee, pretty good writer and contributor, a lot towards basketball. Jason Fitz, probably in a region of radio, I don't know. We all remember LaFonso Ellis in the league and all that. He was doing college basketball.
Yeah.
Steve Young, he just was kind of getting old. And he wasn't even on TV as often. Susie Colliver. This was the first name that I saw that triggered me. One of the longest tenure doing NFL and one of the best to host any of their NFL shows. Ashley Brewer, don't know who she is. Matt Hasselbeck. I thought that if there was a coin flip, they should have got rid of Tim, but I digress. Todd McShay.
That's crazy.
Wait.
Todd McShay.
Yep.
Go back to Matt. Matt Hasselbeck is an idiot. I don't know why you think he shouldn't have got laid off. He just says like, I guess he acting like he's still playing or something. I don't like Matt at all.
Nah, his brother Tim just gives right wing nut job vibes. That's just my thing. That's all. I'm talking shit. I don't really mean it like that. But we gotta come back to some of these names because that Todd McShay one is yeah. But Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, Jalen Rose, Jeff Van Gundy. I can breeze through those because I think most of the conversation is going to be laying on between those top 5 names. And I personally said what I said about Susie Colliver. Like I mean, she's been there for a freaking very long time, but she was good. And I didn't mind her being on TV because it wasn't like she was dumb to the sport of football or nothing like that, or she was just a seat filler. You know what I'm saying? But let's start off at Todd McShay, though. I mean, first off, he was kind of the young Mel Kiper Jr., which, if anybody is like me, they love watching on draft day. Mel Kiper Jr.'s face start boiling because everything that he picked didn't go his way. And Todd McShay was the junior version of him. It just felt like it was from a younger point of view. I mean, what's y'all take on the Todd one?
Nah, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. Like, you know, we love sitting there watching them two go back and forth and you know, basing your picks off of their picks and most of the time you're sitting there like, damn, like Todd McShay, he was closer to what actually happened between him and Mel Kiper Jr. and Louis Riddick. Like, yeah, you know, that was half of the show, half of the draft special. You know, just watching them two. Sorry. So I'm sorry to see him go. I'm shocked. I'm shocked to see him go. To be honest with
you. I'm with you.
Same with what Big O said. You know, it's like I just, you know, that whole tandem, you know, is like Bret Hart, the excellence of execution, it's the speculous of speculation. You know, when they came to the draft, right? But it seemed like McShay was actually more spot on than Kiper. And
yes,
I guess the better you do your job, the higher chances you're gonna get fired at ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyrone, I would say, because this ain't about Mel Kiper. This I wouldn't have said this about. I mean, I'm not saying this about Todd McShay, but when you think about Mel Kiper and you think about the job in the lane that he created that brought in a Todd McShay, you can kind of look at this as this is Dave Meltzer to what that other wrestling publication that everybody kind of now listens to does. Like, you kind of birthed the junior, but now the junior's out though. Like, that's just what
I wanted to say is I like Mel Kiper, I like Tom McShay because Tom McShay is me. He's me. He is what I would do. I just go off of, you know, we don't know who these teams gonna pick, but we go off of what we think and what we see and the college players that we want them to pick sometimes or whatever. And basically, these guys is making a lot of money and got a niche on just talking shit because it ain't no facts behind it. You know, yeah, sometimes you get some inside information, but most of the part you're just talking shit. You're just saying this team needs this and this guy does this and maybe they're gonna pick him. But you don't know, so it's the fun of it. It's the whole fun of it. And like you said, with watching him and Mel go back and forth, I don't even know. Like, that was something that they had. So for Todd McShay to go is kind of weird. It's kind of like, fuck are y'all doing? Kind of like, if I'm gonna watch ESPN at all now, you know.
If you look at this list, right? If you look at the top, I'm sorry, from Steve Young. So say about the top 10, they gutted their whole football lineup. Who's
really.
left?
Not really, because Dan Orlovsky's still there, and I think Dan might be my favorite, not just because of the namesake, but Dan might be my favorite analyst there because he kind of is the realist. What's his name?
Randy Moss is still there.
Well,
right, but that's just Sunday morning countdown stuff. It's the people who come on NFL. What is it? NFL Today or NFL Now?
NFL
The one that
Live?
comes NFL Live. Yeah. Like, they have a rotating cast that comes through that's pretty decent. You know, again, McShay was the more in between NFL college football guys. Keyshawn Johnson was a every so often contributor, but him and Max had the radio show.
They had the radio show, right?
Well, that's my point. When I look at this list, I think that ESPN gutted the radio. Pollock was on the radio. Fitz was on the radio. Max had 2 radio shows. So now it's like this looks to me like they're gutting the whole radio shit.
He's right.
Yeah.
Levitard mentioned that too, about how it just seemed. I think it was referring to just what they've done to ESPN Radio. So
Max Kellerman going was kind of surprised me. I didn't think he was going to go, especially on the radio.
This was my problem with Max, right? So he left First Take, and I was like, oh, when Max got off First Take, I was like, damn, Kellerman's fired. You know what I mean? I thought Max was gone. But then he got 2 shows on TV and an additional radio show. So he got Max with Keyshawn, and then he got the This Just In show on TV. And then the Max and Keyshawn show was on the radio, and he got his own show on the radio doing the Stephen A. Smith side. So I was like, damn. Max kind of got promoted.
Well, Max kind of had all of that because let's remember, I mean, he was doing it with Keyshawn in LA for a minute, and then the real bonus to me was Max on boxing, which they got rid of their best boxing analysts.
Yes.
Stupid, and that's the problem I have with them is there's no one better right now at calling boxing besides at least analyzing it. And I don't always agree with them, but at least at that network, that's the only authenticity they had was Max.
Right.
Yes.
So they also, who else lost their job? They got rid of Andre Ward. Andre Ward's not calling the fights either. And I didn't hear shit about Tim Bradley. So if they still got Tim Bradley, that goes back to my hypothesis: is the better you at your job, the larger the chances they're going to chop you.
Yeah. Well, you think it's about money? That's what it has. It has to be about the money.
Well, no. Well, Tyrone putting it into the perspective of radio. Like maybe there's a shift. Maybe they're getting rid of or reducing radio. Which I don't see how, because radio can still be a cash cow. But the game has moved on to podcasting and other forms of streaming. And one of the articles I read behind all of this was it could also be looking like they're trying to free up money to bring in other talents, i.e. Shannon Sharp is now available, which, to be honest with you, I don't care for him as far as his analytics or talking on TV. If you're bringing him in for Club Shay Shay, do that shit. Let him just have his own genre, and that's it.
Hold on, can they?
Yo, that is not going to go well with Stephen A. Boy.
Can they use Club Shay Shay because
it's his product?
No, last I heard, Fox. They said that Fox said they were pulling out of that too. So Fox owns some of that Club Shay Shay shit too.
I don't have to look at that because I
said that Fox said that
he was able to have it.
They said that Fox said that they were pulling out of the Club Shay Shay thing too, and I thought that was his own personal thing, but apparently Fox got something in there. They said that on that, yeah. But I thought a report saying Fox was pulling out of that too. So
I think he can rebrand it into something else and do something similar.
Yeah,
but they just made me a time stipulation on it.
But not to mention, like, didn't Stephen A. have something like that before? Like,
he still got his podcast. He still got it.
Well, yeah, he still has his podcast. But remember a couple of years back, like a decade ago, when he first started, he was doing something like Club Shay Shay.
Yeah.
And ESPN didn't want to give him they want to grant him the freedom to do like other things outside of sports. And that's where they had clashed initially. And Club Shay Shay is pretty much what Stephen A. did those 10, 15 years ago. So if he's coming into ESPN and trying to do that, I'm sure, Stephen A. is going to have, I mean, not so much have a problem, but he's definitely going to side eye it.
And you're talking about that by way of the Stephen A. Smith show, like when he had his.
Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't that it was like Club Shay Shay is a different vibe, because the Stephen A. Smith show was more akin to late night talk show.
I'm I don't, I like Stephen A. I always have, but like, I don't like what he's doing now. Like when he went into the boxing thing. Now I know he talks about sports, he covers sports, but his boxing his analyzing the boxing seems fake to me. It seems like you don't watch this shit for real. You're not a
Well,
boxing person for real.
No,
well,
he's a fan of it, but he's not
yeah.
an analyst.
And then the other thing too, his podcast now, it was the Stephen A. Smith show was about sports, and now he's just talking about everything, and he's just kind of like, it's like, is you trying to be ESPN sports guys, or is you trying to market yourself as like he doing shit like what we doing now?
I was gonna say, because that's what we've been doing for a minute.
I mean,
I tried to make sure that this show was always versatile, because we can talk about everything more than just sports.
Yeah.
More than just sports. But Stephen A. Smith, though, when you talk about him in his boxing, Jamal, you can go ahead after this.
No, good, brother.
You got to remember, they got to justify paying that man $8 to $10 million a year. So they're gonna stick that brother in anything and everywhere that they can get, and he don't mind the work.
Yeah.
yo, but that's the problem though. $8 to $10 million to say shit I would say.
Right.
Really saying the same shit that I'm saying in the crib.
A little more eloquently and bigger words.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like,
And louder.
All love to Stephen A. though, for real. I appreciate the man. I do.
No, he's got Stephen A. They do have him spread thin. And you're right. It's that contrast. So they got him on everything. Even when he had Errol Spence and Bud and Terrence Crawford on there talking about their fight, and he was dropping wrong facts during that interview. I was like, damn, bro, you can't be that far off, man. Especially not with the super fight. But his eyes are bigger than. I think he's going to be out of ESPN. He wants to be a political dude. That's why he's always on Fox News. He was on Sean Hannity last night. He's been banging the drums for Chris Christie as his presidential favorite, and they need to get rid of Biden. He's disgusted with Biden, and he was on Hannity last night, man. Stephen A's trying to get into politics.
I didn't know that, but you know what, Jamal? That's the perfect segue into what I have set up for what we need to get into, because some of this shit is broken clock theory. Whether you agree with them or not, broken clock.
Really makes it worse is without question Clarence Thomas. Check out his bio here. Born in Pinpoint, Georgia, father abandoned the family, was raised by a grandfather in a poor Gula community near Savannah. Devout Catholic, originally intended to be a priest, actually decided not to be that, by the way, because he was frustrated over the church's insufficient attempt to combat racism. Ended up attending Yale Law School via affirmative action. He attended law school. He was an affirmative action student. Gets better. Appointed by Ronald Reagan as chairman of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. This man once oversaw the EEOC. The very job he held was to address racial inequality in this country. He made it to the Supreme Court. Second black in the history of the Supreme Court. His predecessor was the great Thurgood Marshall. I could easily go into Clarence Thomas. And I think Dr. Michael Eric Dyson put it best. He said, this is the face of a man who climbed the ladder of affirmative action to his present perch of power, only to help destroy the very ladder on which he ascended. You used affirmative action to climb the ladder that you climbed to success, and then did everything you could to knock it down so nobody else could come up the same way you did. That is Clarence Thomas. What really, really makes it worse is with
damn shame.
The shame is facts.
I said it in the group. I said it, talking to my pops. I'm convinced, man. Anita Hill was his villain origin story. Mm-hmm. And like ever since that shit happened, he's just been fuck black people. You know what I mean?
Well,
at least
for a second. Pause on that for a second. Jamal, please set the table.
Right. So we jumped a little bit, but the Supreme Court this week laid down a slate of decisions, negative decisions. They are a radical Supreme Court, and it's almost like tell me that you are trying to legislate into legality white supremacy without telling me you are a white supremacist. That's the route the Supreme Court took this week with some unprecedented decisions. Even though all of these crazy motherfuckers who we knew when they was getting put into the position said they wasn't going to touch things that had already been, decided, like voter rights, like abortion, right, like affirmative action. But they were sleeper cells and put into a position to do exactly what they did. So to run this down, I'm going to list them first, some of the decisions that came on this week, and then we'll hit them one by one. But the Supreme Court decided to strike down President Joe Biden's plan to forgive millions of dollars in student loans. So people who went to school, graduated, got their loans, trying to add to this country, trying to be a part of the workforce, trying to make this country better than it is, who were, the price of school in this country is astronomical for the past 3 generations, which is almost infeasible now. They saddle you with all this debt, so then you're locked into whatever shitty job you can get when you get out. But these people did not want to help out working people, but it was okay to give free money to already wealthy people during the pandemic. That's point one. Second thing the Supreme Court did this week is they ruled that a Christian web designer can turn away businesses related to same-sex marriages or whatever if it doesn't agree with what they say. I don't care where you stand on your belief in marriage and genders and all that stuff. You have to read between the lines on what this does. It's a much, much deeper ruling and topic than is written, because they have just opened the door for you to deny business to anybody based on something you do not like about them. And you know where that's going to end up. Right? So that was the second one. The third one is his brother, Clarence, Uncle Thomas. After all the rulings he has done, that was counterproductive to not only society, but our people specifically. There's never been a greater case of self-hate at a level of office held by a person like him, right? He, who is a beneficiary of affirmative action, he is where he's gotten because of affirmative action, voted to strike that shit down, striking down race-based affirmative action in college admissions. Again, even though he benefited from this wholeheartedly, he decided to be the motherfucker that got to where he got and decided to take the ladder and pull that shit up so nobody else would climb up with it. And of all the despicable things that man has done in his life, in his career, this is by far the worst. He's a sick fucking individual, and I do not know what he sees when he looks in that mirror. My diatribe.
And the point of this is that we had to attack him directly, because
have to.
He's the most damaged. This culturally background, skin tone based. Mm-hmm. We knew what we were getting out of a conservative side from white folks in those positions, especially who were appointed specifically to do such actions. But this dude, like you said, the epitome of self-hate, the epitome of sitting by and letting this shit just happen. And salute the 3 women, and it was only the women who didn't vote yes to any of this. But to salute to them women for sure. What's her name? Ketanji Brown, Sotomayor, again, the other woman, I don't remember her name, but salute to them for not voting against these things. But the angle I want to just talk about real quick, because I was sharing it with y'all before everybody else goes, is I seen a tweet yesterday from some Asian politician who I think happened to be from New York, who was also fighting to have affirmative action removed. And she was celebrating it. and all through the comments, it was a mixture of people, clapping at her like, multiple different ways, but people was celebrating it. Like, yes, finally, we can now get in off of our merit and just not the color of our skin. And all I could do is just say, wow. But then I could say, this is America. But then I had to sit back and say, do y'all idiots really, really realize that this affects you too? I said some other ignorant shit in my head that I'm not going to say out loud. I will text y'all to the group chat in the second of what I was really saying. but do they understand that this affects them too? One of the things that I learned more about within this whole distraction and situation is the majority of people in most of these colleges where these Asians think that they are not getting accepted to, they're still going to not get accepted the same rate. Because guess what? Now you open the opportunity for them to look at your application and see, oh, Tam? Yeah. Oh, Chang? And just automatically assume just off your last name. And then too, that has to get past the factor of, well, the chancellor in the school's son and daughter got to go here. Well, the teacher of the head professor of economics, their 5 kids are going to get in here way before you do. Oh, the billionaire philanthropist who got Nick Cannon level kids, he pays $20 million a year to our school. All of his kids got to get in.
They getting in
before you. So realistically, even though people just hate it because they think, oh, it just worked for black people, no. This law leveled the playing field for everybody. I'm sorry you couldn't go to Harvard. You had to go to Yale. It's not a drop-off. And then not even to take into account that, yeah, okay, you could look at the prestigious schools. Then look at the U.S. as on educational charts alone and how low we are in the world compared to everybody else. But let's go out and strip the ability for everybody, for able, justified candidates to have a fair opportunity. It's realistically just to have a fair opportunity for admissions, which also more research into this whole thing. American admissions and even applications into college has been dropping. And after everybody else goes, like, I'm going to bring up some shit that I read about what in California, a couple Californian schools experimented with this same exact thing in getting rid of affirmative action as far as applying to schools. They did it as an experiment and saw they said within like 20 years or so, how negative the effects were on this. But go ahead, O.
I was just gonna say, it's a whole gatekeeper society. I mean, yes, the person who's donating millions and millions of dollars. Yes, my 5-6 kids are getting in before you. And these same Asians, I think I've read somewhere that they may excel in academics, but as far as other things, as far as things like sports or whatever the case is, or anything extracurricular, they weren't interested in that, and that was their reason for, okay, well, we're not accepting them. So it's affirmative action was needed. As far as affirmative action was needed for all these races. I'm sorry. Hold on. Right. Sorry. Affirmative action was needed for everyone. So, it's bigger than academics. Is what I'm saying.
Tyrone, you got something to say?
I kind of want to play the devil's advocate here a little bit because I'm in construction, and I was a privilege of affirmative action on some of these jobs where they say, hey, we have a job, we have to have a minority on there, right? And so I say that to relate to Clarence Thomas. We never really heard about Clarence Thomas being an affirmative action guy, right? We're hearing about it now, but during the time of him coming up, we knew about it kinda, but it was in the background. You know why it was in the background? Because he was one of them. He was one of them. So they wanted it to look like he got there on his merit. They wanted him to look like he worked hard and got in that position, right? That's what they wanted it to look like. So they didn't. So he was one of them. But I'm telling you that I've also been on the other side of it where, because I do construction and I got my job on my own merit and I've got jobs on my own merit, but I've been around affirmative action hires where, not to hate on my fellow black man, but I'm like, why y'all sending this guy? Why did y'all pick this dude to get the affirmative action job when he's a fucking bum? But they did that so that the white people can say, he's only here because we had to hire him. He's only here because he had to be affirmative action. So I had to go to that kid and I had to say, listen, man, they're throwing that affirmative action shit in your face every single day. They're throwing it at me. We only here because of affirmative action. So you got to work hard. You got to let them know that you're good. So you can't be a bum in this circumstance. I know you're a bum on them other jobs, but on this job, bro, you got to show and prove because this is their way of saying, hey, affirmative action is no good. This is their way of saying, y'all forcing us to bring bums in and fuck our jobs up. They didn't do that to Clarence Thomas because he was one of them from the beginning. So they didn't want to throw that affirmative action shit on him. But I've been victim of it where they picked the wrong, I'm gonna say it, the wrong nigga. They picked the wrong nigga to give the affirmative action job to. It's right for them, wrong for us. Because he's a bum. And that's how they throw the affirmative action in our face. And then that was it. So they have their mechanisms of trying to get rid of it. Because I was doing certain jobs and I'm like, they sent you for affirmative action hire? Like they trying to embarrass us. They trying to make it bad. So
and discredit and just discredit the whole system.
Yeah. And I've been on jobs though where it's like that. I've been on jobs where regardless of skin color, the motherfuckers come to the door like, how the hell did you get to the door? Every job I've had that. What they try to do is exaggerate the numbers for us. And the whole thing with this affirmative action, so it's bogus to begin with, because if you look at the person that filed the case, this is what he does. He's a financier. His name is Ed Bloom. He's a disgruntled Republican mayor from out in California. He's got billions behind him in a fund, and all he does is makes these lawsuits. He never files these lawsuits under his name. What the hell does he care about affirmative action with this small group of Asian students, which is going to get to also. But this guy, this is what he does. He's the guy that led the lawsuit that took out portions of the Voting Act's right. This is what he do. He's doing it to everything like that. It's pure white supremacy and racism from a high-powered guy who's got an unlimited slush fund of money to do these things. That's all this is about. Now, the divide and conquer thing is this is the second time they've used Asians to make a racial point to try and cause issues between blacks and Asians. That's exactly what they did down in Florida when they got rid of AP African American studies, but made Asian studies mandatory. That's how racists say, well, you can't say we're racist. Look what we're doing in this group. What they're hoping is that we start fighting. So we can't take the fucking bait. Because the overwhelming majority of Asians is blasting this shit as bullshit. As for action striking out, they think it's bullshit. You know, yes, there's some just like with us. We got some tokens and some Uncle Toms in our community. They got some Uncle Charlies who do that shit. All right, and we just can't take the bait. And they found a group of really well-off, gullible Asians to jump onto this lawsuit. The overwhelming majority of Asians are with us on this. And the other thing is they made this stupid ass case, and knowing that it would be a wedge, they didn't provide no numbers. I want to see the numbers. How many Asians are getting moved aside to let black and brown people in? Give me some numbers, because I know you're not getting into any Ivy League school if you're not qualified. It's hands down. What affirmative actions was set up for is so that qualified black and brown people can get in, not unqualified. And so they're trying to exacerbate and put that bullshit out. Number two, The gentleman, Fox News did a big expose on the ones. I think his name was Herman something, and they found this kid. You could tell this kid is book smart, but got no common sense. And he was the one that was complaining that he didn't get into Harvard. So they did a study at all the Ivy League schools or schools he applied to that he didn't get in. Those schools already had a 4% acceptance rate. So he wasn't getting anywhere. Those schools are full of valedictorians, and that kid wasn't even a valedictorian of his school. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they're trying to. It's this whole thing is bullshit. It's just another way for the court to legislate hate. There's nobody getting pushed aside for black and brown people. Number two, who benefited the most from affirmative action? And there's numbers to back this up. It is American white women. That's who benefited the most. So that's who's going to suffer the most from it. It's not going to be us. If you're not qualified, you are not getting into those schools. But what they wanted to do is get legislation on the books. So then, and piggybacking off of what Lispa said, yeah. So now these companies are saying, okay, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? So it's all they're doing. It's just a divide and conquer rule. There's no factual evidence behind it. It's just, again, more radical right-wing dogma that they want to put in a book. It's bullshit. Big O.
So this is the article that I found, and I'm cutting through a little bit. It says, here's the upshot. A quarter century after California banned race-based admissions at public university schools, officials say they haven't been able to meet their diversity and equity goals. Despite more than $500 million spent on outreach and alternative admission standards. In an amicus brief sent to Supreme Court, is going through the whole. In an amicus brief sent to the Supreme Court in support of Harvard and UNC's race-based admissions programs, University of California chancellors said that years of crafting alternative race-neutral policies have fallen short. So let's go to where the ban thing. An affirmative action ban first caused a huge drop in diversity at top California schools. In 1996, California voters approved Proposition 209, an affirmative action ban at public universities in the state. Before the ban, UC Berkeley and UCLA were roughly representative of the California high school graduate population who were eligible for enrollment at universities. The ban first took effect with the incoming class of 98. Subsequently, diversity plummeted at UC's most competitive campuses. That year, enrollment among Blacks and Latino students at UCLA and UC Berkeley fell by 40%, according to a 2022 study. As a result of the ban, Bleemer found that Black and Latino students who might have gotten into those top two schools enrolled at less competitive campuses. Blacks and Hispanic students saw substantially poorer long-running labor market prospects as a result of losing access to these very selective universities. But there was no commensurate gain in the long run outcomes for the white and Asian students who took their places. Blacks and Latino students were also less likely to earn graduate degrees or enter lucrative STEM fields. If you follow them into the labor market for the subsequent 15, 20 years, they're earning about 5% lower wages than they would have earned if they had access to more selective universities under affirmative action. The ban has in fact acted as a deterrent to prospective Black and Latino students, Bleemer said. His study found that high-performing minority students were subsequently discouraged from applying to schools where minority students were underrepresented. Most do not want to attend a university where there is not a critical mass of same race peers, said Mitchell Chang, the Associate Vice Chancellor of Equity and Diversity at UCLA. That's because attending a school made less diverse by an affirmative action ban puts them at greater risk of being stereotyped and being isolated. I'm just going to stop there because this thing it's not even that much longer after that. But this here was just to show that they okay. I'll try to show this one. You know how funky the New York Times is, but this article is just to help prove on that it's a negative. But let's keep it real. They probably want this. because they want to keep us down. They want to keep us perceived to be dumber and whatever, which is all perception based and all that. But it's the larger rabbit hole off of removing something like this, where again, it brings about the lack of fair play. You know, how many jobs as is, regardless of if you went to say a 1AA school or whatever, thinking in sports terms, right? You went to a Division I school, right? And you're trying to get a job at Goldman Sachs. The hiring professional there happens to be a graduate of the University of Florida. You just happen to be a University of Miami graduate, so you're a rival. They're already looking at you like, oh, you're a rival. I'm not even gonna hire you. I'm gonna look at the person from Florida instead. Now I'm just gonna look at the person who graduated from the University of Florida, and if their name is Malik Al Hassim James, oh nah, that looked like a nigga name. Next, I'm gonna go with John Smith off this application. Oh, and he's a University of Florida graduate. Oh yeah, like people don't look at those little layers of the rabbit hole of connections. That's why like they always say, like when you're in these frats and stuff, if you were a frat, especially if you were in some of these white fraternities, your path upward, if you got people there, it's almost automatic. You know what I'm saying? And go ahead, Tyrone.
This article, all of the stuff you read in that article tells me that these people think we stupid as fuck. That's what they think. Because you're sitting up here saying, hey, affirmative action is not good. We don't need that shit. But then without affirmative action, we can't meet our quota for minority students at our school. So we do need that shit. So why do y'all need affirmative action to meet y'all quota? The reason why y'all need affirmative action to meet y'all quota is because y'all doing the shit that we saying y'all doing. Y'all stopping minorities from getting into y'all school. So y'all admitting that y'all doing that shit, because without affirmative action, y'all didn't reach y'all quota for minority students at y'all school. So that means that y'all stopped us from getting out of here, because you can't tell me that there's not no qualified minorities in this country. Y'all recruit basketball players, y'all recruit, football players, sports stars, and shit like that. Go recruit some black folks. Go recruit some Latinos. Go recruit some Asians. Go recruit some women. Recruit minorities. And so y'all can find qualified minorities to come to your school enough to meet your quota. Like, that doesn't make sense. You're not looking for them. You're not trying to get them there, and that proves the point. Without affirmative action,
that's the point. It's like they don't. I think they don't want to feel like they're pressured to have to look. You know what I'm saying? And for the people who think that, oh, this is going to be a merit-based win, no. And the numbers were already proven before that. If you keep going and look and dig further, but guess what? They still gonna go out there and try to recruit Jamal, the 5-star running back prospect. Just like you said before, Tyrone, about your jobs, just to make themselves look good. Well, look who we recruited. Look who we recruited to play for our team, our sports. Look what we did. We recruited this whole starting 11 offense of all black folks. You can't say we're not doing it. But that's the game that's going to be played now.
I'm sorry, Jamal. I think we see that every day in a microcosm. In football, us football fans, we see it all the time with the Rooney Rule. I mean, okay, I'm gonna bring Jamal in or Dan in for an interview, knowing I'm not gonna hire this dude. You know what I'm saying? So it's still kind of like the whole affirmative action thing. Like, okay, you guys are forcing me to do this way. I know damn well I'm not gonna hire this guy.
That's exactly what the Rooney Rule is. That's exactly what the Rooney Rule is. It's trying to help, but there's no quota. That's the only thing. So the Rooney Rule is, what they do is the song and dance, bring in some black interviewees. No, they're not going to hire them, and then go on with their fuckery. But it's going to backfire.
The Rooney Rule actually has a quota of you gotta interview 2. That's their quota.
Right. That's their quota, soft quota. There's no hiring quota. There's only an interview quota. The NFL doesn't have a hiring quota. So again, it's just this whole thing. There's definitely a very, very wealthy small percentage group of folks who are dedicated to having a permanent underclass in this country. They don't want to share nothing. They don't want to sit on institutions. They don't want to do anything. And this is where this is from. This is garbage. Number two, the thing they don't talk about, when you go to the Ivy League, up to 45% of the acceptance into Ivy League, white acceptances of Ivy League students, it's affirmative action because they're legacy children. Their daddy, their granddaddy, their great-granddaddy went to that school or is donating money to that school. If it came down to academics, these kids would not get in. So it's race-based bullshit. Over 40-something%, bro. That's crazy. So you know what's going to happen now? 5 years, they're going to be screaming that the white kids can't get in. The Asians are taking all their spots. Then they're going to want it in. You know, because these assholes are so stupid with their race.
Get past, yeah, but if they get past their last name on the application,
no.
If they can get past, but also too, like just to build on what you said, Jamal, real quick before you go, Tyrone. Let's think about what's her name from what's her name from the damn show from what the fuck was that show with Bob Saget?
Oh, the Full House.
What was the name of that show? The Bob Saget, that family show. With the woman that played sister. Yeah, Full House. The one that played Jesse's wife.
Yeah.
The one that played Jesse's wife, who just
recently tried to pay to get her kids in.
Who just right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So now people like her will quite possibly never go to jail again for bribery and trying to get their kids in because, hey, guess what? It's capitalism over here, baby. That money is green. They good to go.
It starts earlier than just now. Like, for instance, they gotta have people, I feel like, to go out and recruit minority students for certain schools because we're told we can't go. I've been told in elementary school, in middle school, and in high school that I can't go to Harvard. Harvard will not ever accept me. And it wasn't because I was black, it was because you gotta be number one. You gotta have a 3.9 grade average. You gotta be, and they were like making it so that like even black kids that were smart, even black kids that knew that they qualified to go to Harvard would never apply. They desensitized that from us from the beginning. Yeah. I was told my whole career in school that, oh, you can't go to Harvard, you can't go to Yale, you might can go to Penn State if you're lucky. But you know, they try to indoctrinate community college for us. You know what I mean? They hold us down from the beginning. Even the smartest black kids didn't want to apply to Harvard because they thought they had no chance of getting in there. So they keep us from applying to these schools. That's another way they do it. They keep us from even trying to get in there. And that's why when affirmative action is canceled in certain schools, they can't meet the quota because they don't even have enough black applicants. Mm-hmm. Because black people say, oh, I can't get into this school on my own, and now affirmative action ain't there. I can't go to that school, so I'm not even going to fucking put the application in.
But why waste my time?
Yeah, it's discouragement. And then when we do achieve, it's delegitimized. Oh, he only got that because of this. Oh, he only got that because of that. It's an exception. It's never earned outright. And I live 15 minutes from Princeton University, and I walk through there when I go practice photography and stuff like that. And I just happened to be there a few weeks ago, and they were doing the graduations. And that campus is still overwhelmingly non-black. And the black students that are there are there dominantly women. That's the other thing they're afraid of. And there's a demographic people don't talk about the fastest rising and most powerful demographic in this country and the highest educated is the black woman. And that's what's scaring the shit out of them. That is not talked about.
Shout outs to my sister-in-law who just pulled up in the Maserati with my brother, who is a multiple degreed woman.
Yeah. So
you know what I'm saying? That is and according to American numbers, who's graduating with the higher degrees and higher grade point averages at the highest rate.
Yes. But black women. And I'm talking about African immigrant Black women and also original Black American women. Yes, and that is it. They're killing it, and with these billionaire old ass friggin' racists stuck in there, what they're seeing is the potential of a whole generation of fucking Stacey Abrams coming right at them. It's gonna overturn everything. So this is all. It's all it's about. It's fucking treachery, mass, and they're just so afraid of everything Black, and they're afraid of the great brownout. They were told the great brownout of this country wasn't going to happen until around the 2050s. Guess what? That shit gonna be here in a decade or so, or less. So, you know,
and it all piles on. It all piles on with the immigration issue that we're having now and the migrants and stuff. And we got to keep them out. We got to keep them out. Where these people forget that, hey, guess what? You guys are the OG immigrants. You guys are the descendants of the OG immigrants. You're the descendants of the OG land theft, the people who committed the most atrocities in stealing land and then saying it's ours and then turning around and now saying get the fuck out. But this is the land of the free, home of the brave. That's why I say fuck Independence Day. I say fuck most of these American holidays to begin with, because even though I don't personally, and I at times take the standpoint of like, I'm that Black man that doesn't have a lot of the things that most average Black folks have happened to them, but I empathize and sympathize with my people to no ends. You know what I'm saying? But this shit, they just don't understand. Like you mentioned, the brownout. I forgot where I was going with that, but like the whole brownout, that shit is going to be here soon. That's what I was mentioning. That's what I was trying to get at with the whole bringing up why we're going through what we're going through now with the quote unquote migrants who are trying to seek freedom. And again, this country that allegedly said, give us your sick, your poor, you're tired, you're weak, and all of that stuff. You know, I live where I could go one block down Richmond Terrace and probably look across the water and see the Statue of Liberty. The same welcome trophy, the same welcoming signal that's supposed to welcome anybody that comes into this country.
But here's the thing too, Clarence Thomas, I bring him up because he's being used. Like, they can't use me. When I go on a job and they go, hey, Tyrone, you the foreman, and they say they want to hire somebody, if it's an affirmative action hire, I tell them, I say, why not let me bring in the guy? Why y'all bringing in the guy? But now they're using women too. They're using women too, because guess what? So they got this thing where if they hire an affirmative action hire, right, that's to meet their minority quota, and he's guaranteed 400 hours, and he's guaranteed that he can't be fired under no circumstances. They got to keep that guy, right, to meet the minority quota. So now what they do is they bring in a white woman who doesn't come in on the affirmative action thing because she's white, but she meets the minority quota because she's a woman. And she can be terrible. I can't fire her. And now she's double helping them because she's a woman, you got to watch what you say to her. You got to watch how you treat her. She's getting her own porta potty, special privileges and all that. And guess what? They meet their minority quota, so they don't even have to hire the affirmative action hire. And so now they're using this women as a minority thing against hiring young Black men too. Or they say, you know, I'm a Black man, I'm a foreman working for this company. You guys got to bring in an affirmative action hire. Why wouldn't y'all let me pick the kid? Y'all know why y'all won't let me pick the kid? Because y'all see how I work. Y'all see how I came up. Y'all know I'm going to pick a good kid. Y'all want to pick a bum so that when he becomes a bum, y'all can go back to these companies and say, there's your affirmative action hire. And that's what I'm saying. It's just, that's what Clarence Thomas was. Clarence Thomas was their boy. He was one of them. We're not going to call you an affirmative action hire because you're the good guy, but don't bring nobody else up here. You know what I mean? Simple as that.
Jamal said it best. Like, once he got that ladder, he took the ladder with him.
Yeah, and it's good to pile on in the front, you know, and I'm just, you know, this thing, all this stuff was not even stuff that was voted on by people. These were all money decisions. They were all funded by a bottomless hedge fund, a PAC that nobody called for any of this shit to happen. We got a small group of really, really powerful people decided to do that. And they didn't even put their names on the case. The name is named after the fund.
Right. And but to say that Clarence Thomas,
Yeah. And he was bought and paid for the second he went in.
To say Clarence Thomas was just a pawn. Yeah,
well,
I agree with that, but he's not just the. I was gonna say I don't think that he's like just being used though. Like I think he accepts this shit. Like I think he gets off on this shit. Like he goes home and bangs his ugly ass white wife, and there's no shade at anybody who's interculturally married. She's just she's a piece of work. She's a January 6th and all of that. But you know, he likes this shit. He wants this shit. And it's only been proven in his actions throughout time. And yeah, you can definitely say it's paid for, whatever the case may be. But this man, I don't think there's ever been a good word that could be said about him while he's been in this position.
I mean, you know, get back. I'm sorry, getting back to his wife. I mean, she gives Puppet Master vibes after January 6th, right? I mean, we could all agree on that. You know, so I mean, I would say that she wears the pants, you know, and he for a long time has been against his own people. You know, it's hard to argue against that. You know,
I mean, wasn't he against interracial marriages also by way of the law? But yet he's a beneficiary of one of those too.
That is so crazy.
That's what I say. He's sick, bro. He's disturbed in a way where he likes to see pain and suffering. He is traumatized in a way where causing black pain seems to make it the shit he just does, and with a straight face and just sits there. And he's such an affirmative action hire, and the thing he hates. And on the Supreme Court, he gives the least. He speaks the least. He gives the least amount of rulings. You know what I'm saying? He's not up there with any groundbreaking speeches or essays or interpretations of the law. They don't let him talk that much. There's a reason for that. You've heard him talk.
But you know, it's. I'll be honest with you. The way the system is set up, right? It's just all of them. You know, it's just the whole system gives gatekeeper vibes. You know, it's like you almost ask yourself, like, why do we have a president at this point?
Well, that's a deeper question, bro. And I tell you this is that it's not the real answer to the question is elections have fucking consequences, man. And again, we never have perfect candidates, but there's always a better choice between the two. And everybody fucked right the fuck up in 2016 by not thinking in 3D, by saying these two people is the same. No, they was not. It was not the same. We had a choice between two shitty fucking candidates. I will not tell you that. But one of those candidates was not going to let Nazis run free in the streets. And they let the wrong guy in, and that motherfucker had 3 Supreme Court picks.
Yeah.
This is the shit you have to think about when you think it's just not about whether, you know. So you got to think like that when voting, because I know it's not ideal, the choice between choosing the lesser of two evils, but there's consequences to putting the wrong person in. Who is more likely to go full fascist? And this is what this guy did.
Well, I agree with you on that point, but here's my thing, and I will still stand by this, even like I did back then, because this is how I feel. 2-party system is a bag of shit, and it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be done away with. But these people have to get away from the brainwashing of the lesser of two evils and things like that, and start taking chances on these third parties and getting their voting numbers up. Yeah, unfortunately, we got to take the consequences on where things fall and stuff like that. but we need to start taking more stock into these third, fourth, and fifth parties to wake people up, to give people more options. Because yes, this is just the beginning of the removal of these things that we're talking about today. But they can come back into play depending on, because the pendulum can swing back the other way. And with the right people in play, with the right people back in law and back in office and stuff like that, it can happen. But you got to start playing the other parties too, to say to both sides, fuck you both. We're tired of your bullshit. And so again, it sucks that these things happen, but there needs to be a real reckoning by our votes to say, yo, we're tired of just these two options. We got to start looking another way. You know what I'm saying?
There is a way to do that. There is a way to do that. We got to start
looking another way. But also too, I hate, because it shouldn't be we got to take it for what it is. We can ride this wave out, because I personally believe these things can turn back around, because like you mentioned before, with they feel that the brownout is happening, it's happening.
It's going to backfire for sure. All these decisions are going to backfire on them.
All of this shit is
going to
backfire. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. It's all going to backfire.
Go ahead, Tom.
But you know what? I understand what y'all saying about getting the right people in the right position, but there's also a situation where the power is manipulated. And I'm gonna put it to you, Dan. I'm gonna use you as an example. You own the company, you're the boss, and they tell you, hey, you got to have a certain amount of minorities. If you don't, you got to use an affirmative action hire. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to hire through affirmative action where they send you the candidates, or are you just going to pick two minorities that you know that can work in your company? Because that's where they do it at. If you go through affirmative action, then boom, they say, okay, you're going through affirmative action. Here's two guys that we're sending you to meet your affirmative action. They send you the two fuck ups, and now you don't want them guys. So now it's up to you then to say, hey, I don't want.
No, I feel you.
Hires, right? So now what's your choice? Do you get your own guys, which is saying fuck affirmative action, or do you get two affirmative action hires, which fuck your company up, which still, in turn, when you say you don't want them, you still saying fuck affirmative action again. So they still find ways to fuck you no matter who's in power. If you take the guys, you're fucking up your company. If you don't,
I feel you.
You're saying fuck affirmative action.
I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying, and I have an answer for you for that, because when you put me in it, I'm gonna give you the perspective from me personally.
That's why I chose you. I'm smart.
Because I grew up in such a vast, and I grew up in a diverse neighborhood. I went to diverse schools. All of my friend circles have been diverse. So a person like myself doesn't need affirmative action, because I am going to look for who I personally feel will be the best to fit. And my circles and my spaces are going to look like a rainbow. Now, TJ's not here to complete the rainbow on this show, but I digress on that. If you get what I'm saying. But no, take for instance what I've done with the Blackfinity Gauntlet. The last time we had an actual panel, unlike last year, I purposely had the mindset of, because the whole thing started from, this was for Black podcasters. Then it swerved into, I kept it with the whole Black podcaster thing, but more importantly, podcasters of color. That's when the first one that I had full control of, my man Dominican Lou was one to break it up. I had to bring him in. Dominicans, y'all Black too. There ain't no more that I know Black. You Black. You know what I'm saying? But then the year after that, I said, I want to mix this up and bring in multi-background, multicultural podcasts. And that's what I did. This year with the Wrestle Talk edition of things, I'm bringing in multicultural Wrestle Talkers. And here, just to dispel a rumor, it's my younger brother. Thank you.
We're not twins.
We're not twins at all.
He's older than me.
That's it. He just looks older.
Right.
That's it.
going on, y'all?
Damn.
Peace. That's my
Oh.
younger brother, yo. Motherfucker could retire at 42. Fucking
Oh
crazy.
man, it's good life, man.
Next year. But yeah, man. But like, I know me, Tyrone, and I'm glad you picked me because I affirmative action. Of course, I'm sure many of us have been beneficiaries of it, whether it was silent or not. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was overt or covert, we might have been beneficiaries of it. Fortunately for me, the job that I now can retire from, just like he did, just like my father right over there did, you had to take a test and your score prevailed. Your score prevailed. Then there was other factors like a number in your social security number, like little things like that to break ties as far as scores on tests and stuff. But I passed the test, scored a high enough number to get hired. It goes by a number in that case, not by a name, not by a look. It went by a number for how I got on my city job. You know what I'm saying? And but for me as an owner of something, like, of course, I'm making sure personally, I'm making sure it's multicultural because that's what I want my environments to be. That's what I want my environments to be because that's what I grew up on. That's what I was raised on. Part of my family, from my Jersey family to my direct blood uncle who's not that far away, who is that family's mixed. My family's mixed. My children right now are Puerto Rican and black and Puerto Rican. You know, which we're talking about this whole school acceptance thing and things like that. Like now because we're in the era and we're in the times and this thing ain't going to get fixed that quickly. Now is where I'm going to have the conversation with my daughter because I wanted her to be able to pick where she wanted to go. Now I'm going to tell her, focus on the HBCU because of situations like this. You know, and then with that thought in my head and thinking of athletics, because I was rabbit hole in this whole situation. I'm sorry to let me breathe on this for a second, but I was rabbit hole in this whole situation in my brain by way of the game of football. I was saying, okay, so now these schools can now stop and not bring in more black kids and things like that. What are their football teams going to look like? What is the NFL going to look like in the near future?
So,
you know what I'm saying?
Shit ain't gonna change. They're not gonna fuck up that check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We know that, Jamal. But again, understand the levels of rabbit hole and I was doing. You know what I'm saying? So now you bring the pendulum, like some of the kids tried to do a couple years in these past couple years where they top recruits started saying, you know what, I'm going to Howard. I'm going to play with Deion Sanders. I'm going here. I'm going there. Now you can make the whole pendulum swing to say the whole ESPN top 500 is going to an HBCU. Now who's the powerhouses?
Again, why this is all going to backfire because there's other things in motion. Other things in motion that's already at work. And again, just to bring it back, people forget why affirmative action came about anyway. It's not so unqualified people could get in.
Exactly.
It's because we can't trust motherfuckers in power of a certain demographic to even look at candidates who are qualified that do not look like them. Yep. That's why it came about. Mm-hmm. And that's still the case. So
like a dumbass tweeter, like no, it wasn't even a dumbass tweeter. It was a dumb idiot on TikTok talking about what is wrong with them getting rid of this by way of these schools. Like they have colleges specifically for black people, which that statement alone just said you don't even understand the history of why those schools were even created.
I know, and then they complain that there's HBCUs. In the next breath, they'll complain about
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're complaining that they're there because you forget that you're not maybe not your direct blood, but your people caused this shit to happen. And then guess what? You can go across almost most, and I'm thinking about this in football again. You can go across many of HBCU campuses and find white football players on them teams, which is just a reminder that there is white acceptance in those schools also. So what are y'all talking about? It's not like they are like this. HBCUs don't say only Negroes can go here. No.
Do you see the amount of non-black people that are at HBCUs right now? It's more than ever before.
They forget the fact that that H stands for historically. That means you're getting historically black college.
That shit.
That
shit.
Black college. You know what I mean? All they see is black college.
Right. That's it. They see it's his black college. It's his black college and university and university. No, come on now. They can't have that too. They can't have the university too.
But to talk about the NFL and going down the rabbit hole with that. These scouts are still they're still gonna pick out, okay, listen, his grades may not be all that great. He may not get because of affirmative action. But he's ESPN has this dude rated high school. He's rated at number 3, number 4. Yeah, we taking him. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, but let's watch teams like schools like Alabama, Clemson. In schools. It's gonna be no drop off.
Alabama is black as hell.
Yeah.
Still, Alabama's black as hell.
All the most racist states is black as hell. Exactly. Alabama, this is black as hell. And
it's gonna be no drop off in talent.
No, none of that's gonna change.
They're not gonna take a hit.
No, none of that's gonna change because it's gonna affect their pocketbook, and they know that. Mm-hmm. As much money as just historically in the country as the black folks are bringing into these. The SEC would collapse tomorrow. The NCAA would collapse tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's just like they know what they're doing. They just don't want us in certain. They want to make the road as hard as possible for us in certain pockets of society, which is why.
Wait a minute.
The affirmative action was not struck down for military academies.
Yep.
Why is that?
Yep. Because niggas can go die. Niggas can go die for this country.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Wait. Now, I don't know if I'm off base. I don't know if I'm wrong, but this could possibly be a good thing then, because if we're saying that these colleges and these schools are supposed to be diverse, right? No, just listen. If we're saying this is supposed to be diverse, aren't we kind of now forcing them to take black students in on their merit now? Because if they got to be diverse and they got to have a certain amount of black students and they can't use affirmative action, now they got to take them in for real.
Tyrone,
they don't got to do nothing. That's the problem.
That's the yes, and
they don't have to do anything.
And that's why.
But hold on. If they don't, right? Me, you, all of us would be able to say, hey, Yale is a racist school. They don't have any diversity.
Tyrone, this is why. I mean? This is why when I led that off, this is why I had mentioned that Asian woman's tweet, because they assume that they are now going to be able to get in off of merit. But like I said, merit is only going to go but so far when they don't look at the person in the face, but they see the name on the application. They can see the name on the application and purposely, all right, you know what? Chang ain't getting in here. Zhuang Li ain't getting in here. I'm throwing it out. Fuck that.
Raheem Jenkins ain't getting in.
Like I said, they got a 4.5 grade point average. Nah, I don't care. Their name says Malik Abdul Shabazz Jr. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? It does not create a level playing field. It creates a very imbalanced playing field because now you can claim merit all you want. The way that merit will work in that situation is if the applicant can apply blindly with no name on it and say, here's a list of 20 stats. Pick the best 20. No name, no nothing, they're automatically in. That's how that merit would work.
No.
As soon as the name is attached to that merit, forget it.
I'm not talking about the merit working for them. I know that the merit's not going to work for them, but I'm talking about when we start protesting, and you know what people do when you start protesting them, they start saying, wait a minute, no, they start pulling out their fucking receipts, right? So if we start protesting and saying, Yale is not diverse, Yale is racist, they're going to pull out their receipts. Hey, we took in 20 blacks, blah, 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 this year. So they're going to go through their paperwork and say, hey, we need Raheem Jones or Raheem Jenkins or whatever. We
Right.
need one of them, and he qualifies to go here now. Then affirmative action, he qualifies to go here. Let's take him in. So he's gotten in there on his merit because he met the qualification.
But what you also just said was they're also just bringing him in just because he's black now.
Fuck them.
Because his
Fuck
merits.
us. I don't give a fuck about that university. I'm talking about he still is going to Yale, and he's still going there based on his hard work.
Oh yeah, no, I get what you're saying as far as him getting in on his hard work, but still, it's that underneath layer of, but why did he get in? Really, was it really because of his hard work?
Yeah, but affirmative action, hold on, affirmative action gives them an answer. Oh, affirmative action allows some white people to say he got in because of affirmative action.
Affirmative action.
Go ahead, Jamal.
Affirmative action makes them have to take a look at Raheem.
Right.
That's
the difference.
It doesn't matter if he's qualified. The reason we have the affirmative action is because they were getting qualified people. They just didn't want to look at them. So you had to force them to bring in a certain amount of qualified people because we know how it is. If Sam Jones, well, that's too black still. if Chad McCarty and Raheem both put in the same resume, who's gonna look at first? They get this experiment and test has been done. Which resume is gonna get looked at? And so that's where affirmative action come in. Yeah,
Jamal, I have a question I've been meaning to ask now, right? So now because affirmative action has been struck, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that now you have these parents, you have these about to be parents gonna come on now and really think about what they're gonna name their kids because they know that 20 years down the road, when they get to college.
He said that might bring some no more the coldest evers.
The coldest evers.
No Capricorn is Simmons. But no, the whole thing with how you name your kid, that study's been done. How your name affects it, and that study's been done. The upside is that again, this whole thing is spurred by a very loud minority. The overwhelming majority of people are fucking done with this bullshit. We just want to move on. So you're going to see the majority of schools keep the same thing. They're going to say, fuck the Supreme Court. This is our institution. These are private institutions. We do what we want. They're not going to want and piggybacking off what Tyrone says, yeah, a lot of those institutions are not going to want that bad press. And they're going to say, no, that's the court. We're going to do our thing and keep this the way it is.
Outside of Harvard and North Carolina.
Yeah, great. And North Carolina's going to do it because North Carolina is not going to suffer in basketball. It's just the way it is. They're not going. Harvard.
If Michael Jordan's billions got anything to say about that,
the majority of these institutions are not going to get down with that bullshit. That ship is last. That ship is past. Again, it's these motherfuckers who are afraid of the great brownout, doing whatever they can, but you cannot stop change. That's the way it is. And all this is going to backfire. But it's just, again, like I let off, tell me that you are trying to legislate a white supremacist agenda without telling me you're a white supremacist. And that's what they're doing.
I want to be clear. I wasn't saying that I'm for affirmative action being taken away. I just want to put that out there.
Of course, man.
Listen.
But I've been a victim of getting a job on my own merit and being called an affirmative action hire. So I know how that feels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've gotten jobs where, I've gotten certain jobs, and then the way people treat you is different. Like you're an idiot. Until they hear you talk and see actual production, and then they wonder why they didn't get it. I've been
man, listen, and I've said it on here before, and I say it again. I've been at jobs, the two jobs prior to where I'm at now, where people who look like me held me down also. So take that for however y'all want. Right. You know what I'm saying?
That's the nature of things. And we're just what affirmative action was doing was trying to prevent the blatant racist practice.
Yep.
And the systemic racist practices that were going on.
And again,
that still continue. But
we don't need to dive down the other aspects of this rabbit hole today because like you said, they didn't take it away from military practices. They didn't take it away from job practices or anything like that. They took it away specifically from schools, which they're trying to say that they know education is the most important
Is
thing
the key
in the world.
Because these people are smart. They may vote more informed. They may vote better. They may it opens the door for everything, and that's what they're doing. They know they dry snitch. It's not even a dry snitch. They told on themselves basically what they're doing, and it's just gonna fucking backfire. So fuck them.
Fuck them indeed, and fuck you, Clarence Thomas. Fuck you, Clarence Thomas. Now, see, just for educational purposes, and not to throw you under the bus, because I'm not throwing you under the bus, but it was just a recent conversation that you used this term of Uncle Tom, and it don't apply for him, because if y'all go actually do the history on the Uncle Tom slanderous word, Uncle Tom was the definition of no snitching. Uncle Tom was the definition of ride or die, because in the book he legitimately died for protecting his people and not saying anything, not being a coon like Clarence Coonis.
Here you go.
Like Coon and Thomas.
You know, we know what Uncle Tom means for us right now. We don't.
That's not it.
We're talking about what we talking about. We ain't talking about that shit.
But that's a part of the problem.
Yeah, Uncle Tom like a motherfucker.
But that's part of the problem. That's the part of the problem, though. Is we saying shit, we're misusing it.
We take we got our own thing. You didn't
exactly.
Take
my bad. Well, I don't live in Florida, so I can do that, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. It's not stricken from the record books. But no, Uncle Tom is a hero. He's straight up coon of Coon. That's why this episode was called King Kunta.
I was joking anyway. I like
I know.
Hey,
we gonna talk about Malika? Do we have to? Because we should have talked about them in the ESPN part, because I have to say once again, how the fuck does she have a job still? But no, you know what? Let's keep it black. We're not going to tear down a black woman after we just gave props.
Come on, man. We talking about Billy Andrews.
Well, she ain't worth the energy right now. She ain't
worth
because
we all know why she still has a job.
We moved past that. When we didn't talk about it, about the ESPN layoffs, we should have brought that up then. But
it's all right. Just her fuckery's going to catch up too, because her fuckery's going to catch up to her.
Yeah,
it's going to catch up. So
because
Can I just say something? Can I just say something real quick?
Before you say something, I'm gonna just say, Rachel Nichols. You are missed. You're doing your thing out there, but you're missed on ESPN.
You are. And if Malika Andrews was looking like Robert Roberts, she would have got fired. Let's call elephant in the room. All right.
Well, that's the elephant.
I don't even know if it's that, bro.
That's the elephant in your room.
Oh, it is that, because I watched only to see Malika how she look. I don't even want her to talk. I just enjoy looking at her.
If she wasn't pretty, yeah.
Because
it's more than. I mean, I tried to give her every benefit of the doubt to not seem biased, but that woman is dedicated to tearing people down, and I can't get behind it.
And nobody's looking at it on it.
Yeah, I can't.
We looking at it, but nobody's calling it out.
We're not talking about that though, Lisper.
And then too, if you want to add on, and then we're gonna keep this short too. Why is Sage Steele still there? Sage Steele is the same. Sage Steele is the same woman who was crying, "Woe is me," tears during when the Black Lives Matter marches was happening, hot and heavy, and she was sounding bougie as fuck because her flight got delayed in LAX because they were protesting at LAX.
Yeah, I think Sage Steele kind of put her in a. She kind of shut her mouth a little bit.
Oh, did she?
She kind of climbed down a little bit, and that's why she still got a gig.
Yeah, because she wasn't invited to none of the black conferences, none of those black meetings.
She shut her mouth.
And she was like, "Why didn't I get invited?" It was like, "Bitch, look in the fucking mirror to why didn't you get it?"
It's hard to get a new job. Ageism is a real thing. Ageism plus gender plus skinism. Sage Steele ain't no fool.
Mm-hmm.
So
She's
like,
part
you know
time
what?
already. If you think about it, like she's hardly on ESPN.
So she got like a partial bus pass right now.
She's on she got a half fare bus pass. She's on she's always on the 12 o'clock ESPN show, which is fine because even what's my girl's name? Oh damn, the woman from Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
I like her a lot, but even
The
her,
Falcons fan.
even her got her kind of bounced from working the 6 o'clock show. Got Sage Steele bounced from, and like, yo, like I'm not working with her, but she rocks out on the 6 o'clock show and kills it.
Yeah,
While Sage is stuck on freaking 12 o'clock in the afternoon. But you know, whatever. Rachel Nichols.
So this you know, a shout out to swing the other way to folks like Monica McNutt out there doing it the right way. And,
yes,
and
shout out to her.
You know, and I hope they get from, you know, more airtime.
Monica, I mean, all the women that I like that don't do the fuckery, like Monica McNutt, Holly Rowe is one of my absolute favorites.
L. Duncan, that's her name. L. Duncan.
Yes, thank you. L. Duncan is a number one in my book. But L. Duncan, Holly Rowe, Monica McNutt, but the other woman that comes on and fills in on First Take a lot with no, you know, she shaves her head bald. She's dope. She's good too. She's really good too.
She came from Snapchat. My mother was telling me. She came from ESPN Snapchat.
Oh, word, good for her.
Yeah, so shout out to her.
Better than some of the dummy mainstays that should have got fired. Like I saw, kind of like, Molly's kind of toned it down too. But at one point, I was even saying like Molly's got to stop too, because you know too much. You know, this ain't a woman bashing segment at all, but it's just too many times on that network. The same way Malika be throwing in slanderous comments on people, like Molly would do the same thing when it was an attack on a woman, or a slight on a woman. But then when the person is proven innocent, would never come back on air and apologize or double down. And that's my issue between, like, say, her and what's the name that we just mentioned. Like, they throw shit down and don't apologize. Like when she went on the air, when Stephen A brought her on the air when she was dead wrong about a situation, and Stephen A slowly schooled her, she didn't let it go. I forgot what incident it was that we were whatever. Why did I draw a blank on her name? That's just how relevant. Huh?
So Malika.
Yeah. That I forgot who they were talking about with Malika.
You mean Udoka?
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And she did, and then she got her retribution by doing that shit to Kendrick later in the day.
Yeah.
Or when they hired Joe Mazzulla and she went on the air and they said and talked about all of the crimes he committed, all his criminal
like 10 years prior,
all the convictions and stuff that he had, and nobody asked her nothing about that.
She did it to old boy from the NBA draft from Alabama just last week.
Yeah, Brandon Miller.
I'm like, this is what she does. It's like, no, that is just criminal. It's slander, and it's a lot of that shit's alleged.
But okay. Well, how come she was never? I mean, we don't know. But I'm like, you're still doing it, so I would assume that you've never been corrected on this.
What I was gonna say was what's the name's character from Anchorman, right? If she's just acting like him and just reading from a teleprompter,
yeah, that's personal with her.
I can't even say that she's just. I mean, she's reading from a teleprompter, but at what point do you say, "Nah, I'm not doing this"?
I'm not reading. Right.
She reading her own shit though, man. That's just personal because she wasn't reading from the teleprompter when she was going in on the email Udoka and then blaming Stephen A of slandering women by just saying, there was 2 employees of the Celtics. How is that an attack on women?
Ain't no way.
If anything, it's the reverse.
Why would ESPN at that time put Mazzulla's criminal history on that teleprompter?
Yeah, that was horrible.
Right.
That was fucked up what they
did. That's why they did that.
Right.
Some shit from college, from 10 years earlier. But still, it just, it's like, come on, man. I don't know. It's going to backfire. It's going to catch up with her eventually. But
You know what backfired? Talking about her for 5 minutes because it sucked the steam out of the room when we should be saying peace. This show is over. Tyrone, the newest addition to the team. Now the cipher starts with you, then it goes around. You'll get the order soon, but you know what to do.
Hey, like I said, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that we can have. This is the forum where we can talk about anything. And this was great for me. We can talk about all of, black issues, white issues. We can talk about sports. We can talk about movies. We can talk about bullshit and still make it good on here. We're grown men that ain't gonna fight, ain't gonna insult each other, can take everybody's opinion and roll out and still be cool at the end. And that means a lot to me. And it's not even that. It's like even with Dan trying to trying to educate us. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Like, this is intelligent conversation. Yeah, we joke and play around, but it's all based. I can tell that I'm talking to intelligent black men that know what they're talking about, that really put in work and effort, research and all of them things. And it's so comforting to have that. And so I'm glad that y'all thought enough of me to say that I can bring something to this table, and I really appreciate it. And I hope I got my triple-double today. And I can only improve from here, I guess, So I still want to say thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this, because I really enjoy it and I really appreciate it.
You started off with a 4 for 4, a little Wendy's 4 for 4. Gotta get to the biggie bag next week. Oh,
yes, sir, man. Great show, man. I learned a lot, man. Just listening to you guys, man. Politics is not my forte, man, but I learned a lot, listening from y'all, man, and I enjoyed the show, man. Lisper, you're a great addition. I know we're gonna be on the bigger and better. This is just the first of many. So yeah, man. Shout out to the listeners, man. Shout out to the listeners and those who commented on the show. And I can't wait for Sunday, man. Can't wait for next Sunday.
That's what's up. Peace to all the listeners, everyone watching the show. Great show today, guys, man. I know this is kind of heavy, but, some of this was weighing on my mind this week, and somebody texting in the group about it. Lisper, man, welcome, brother. Great show today, man. As predicted, as we all knew, you were going to add a great dynamic to the show and complete the cipher, man. Much appreciated. I'm glad you're with us, man. Peace to Big O. Dan, Dan, again, thank you for letting me bring this topic up. Just some things needed to be said. I apologize for any impassionate anger I may have towards Brother Thomas. But
my brother.
some shit got to be said. And if there's, and yeah, that's all I got for today, y'all.
The definition of every brother ain't your brother. Fuck you, Clarence Thomas. Peace to Ishtar, peace to Disabled Planets. You forgot that. Tyrone, if you need to get that, you got to dig back into some past episodes, which it was those were autocorrect mistakes that would never live down in the comments. Back when Jamal was just watching before he came on. So,
peace to Ishtar. Anyway. Yeah, Disabled Planets. And then Ill Magic.
That's right, Ill Magic. Right. But yeah, man, fuck Clarence Thomas, fuck Malika Andrews. I don't hesitate in saying that because she's been past annoying. I love watching the show, the NBA show, but it's just my stomach turns.
No. We even gonna talk about Kendrick Perkins because I was just knew that Kendrick Perkins was gonna be on that list, man.
You've been dying for Kendrick Perkins to get fired just as hard as you want what's his name to get traded. But we're not going there. Shut up about that.
Kendrick ain't intelligent, but he's funny. I like him I like him.
I like Kendrick Perkins because hate it or hate it, the man actually was a pro athlete. You know what you're doing when you don't like him? You're just not liking the man's opinion, which is okay.
It's terrible most of the time.
Yeah,
it depends.
He provides comic relief.
It depends. I like Big Perk, man. Pause on the big love. But carry on. We're done. No more long talking from me. Y'all know what to do. Hooks Rub hooksrub.com, 20% off your order. Use the code starting5. Blackfinity Gauntlet is coming soon to J1Con November 3rd to the 5th. This year's Blackfinity is Wrestle Talk related. So if you're of the Wrestle Talk community, please come out. Please come through. We want to have a discussion about how to make that toxic space a better place and actually make it a community first and foremost. But the Starter 5 podcast will be there. I'm working on something else. I can't say what it is just yet because I didn't get an official word if I'm going to be doing it. But just know 50 years of hip hop, there's going to be a pretty popular rapper of within the lane that people could consider the nerdcore lane there, and trying to make something happen with that. But we'll talk about that when that comes through. And yeah, we're done. See y'all next week. Peace.